Jim, you said go straight down the line.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Bill, him in Texas. Bill wants to start a secular church. Why doesn't the ACA do that?
In nomine Patre Domine.
Kalima, Abam Shaba, Abam Shaba, Abam Shaba.
I think we just did.
Yep. Bill, what was your idea of a secular church?
So I recently got divorced, something that I didn't want to get married and then I didn't want to get divorced. Anyway, I found a group that helped me get through divorce, the rough part at the start.
Yeah.
And right now I'm dealing with, my father has Alzheimer's, and I find it helpful to talk to other people who are going through the same thing. However, I am an atheist. I gave up religion 15 years ago, and I was Catholic, and anyway, but that's beside the point. The thing is, when I see that there are groups of people who are available to help one another, because we're all in this together.
You bet.
They're all affiliated with religions or at a church, and I really have no use for that part of it.
Right.
And it seems that they're always tied together, and I want to make available these types of services. You know, we were talking.
So
Dallas.
it sounds like you're looking for a community to belong to.
Yeah.
An atheist community. For instance, if you lived in Austin, the Atheist Community of Austin. If you lived in Lubbock, there's a Lubbock Community of Austin, or an Atheist Community of Lubbock, excuse me. And there are several other atheist communities around. There's groups called the Oasis. They're here in Austin as well. There are a number of atheist communities out, even in Texas. Houston's got 2 atheist groups because it's big enough to do that.
Okay.
Dallas has probably got a couple.
Some of these groups exist. However, they aren't necessarily, with the growth of the nuns, people who are leaving religion behind, that we're seeing happen, and I think that it's accelerating. I think that the setup of a church, not only that, like, people, there are plenty of clergy who have found themselves, the Clergy Project is something that has really interested me. And I think that these people, they still have value in doing what they were doing before. Before they, their belief system collapsed, or they decided to say, something, Johnny, you've mentioned several times when people who are deconverting, you ask them is it important for you to come out? And if it's not, it's no big deal. Some of the clergy, it has become important.
Yes.
And I think it's important for those people to continue to render those services in that church environment.
What services in particular are you wanting? When you say that those services don't exist, what services are you wanting in particular?
I want to do all of the things that a church does. So part of that is celebration. And they be analogs to whatever faith you came from. Friday night can be for former Muslims. Saturday can be for former Jews or atheistic Jews.
Okay.
And then Sunday, have a different celebration. We can have an ex-Catholic where it's, I always liked going to church. I had fun. I thought I liked that ritual.
Well, let me say this. Speaking as a former board member, I will tell you on behalf of your nearest atheist community, whatever that may be, I would like on their behalf to thank you so much for volunteering to head up those services that you think are so necessary. And I'm sure that they will enjoy having you as a volunteer, and you'll make a great volunteer to make that happen.
Yep.
Well, I also have I have a problem with volunteerism.
So do I. I used to be in the Army. I volunteered once and ended up there. I'm not going to do it again very often.
No. It's like the folks in the Clergy Project. These people, this is the career that they chose, and then that career was no longer available to them, and they needed to find a different way to make a living. I think that they should be able to continue to make a living doing that type of work, and
some of them are. Some of them do work for nonprofits that help the poor and provide services, and they are continuing to do that work just for other nonprofits. So they're and that's another thing you can do too if you really want to provide the services. Go into a nonprofit. There are a number of secular nonprofits that are not attached to churches that do this kind of thing.
Well, so this continues. Jim, you had mentioned how difficult it is to maintain or the proof of the hoops that you have to jump through to maintain the nonprofit status as the ACA. I want to, as a former Catholic, I look at how perverse and disgusting it is how cash just flows into the coffers of the Catholic Church. And there are plenty of people in the Vatican who make money cash. They are really cashing in on the Catholic Church. I mean, you can explore a little bit the financial.
Yeah, but we have suggested several things. Finding your own community, and by doing that, by building your own community, you can eventually get large enough and you don't have to be a nonprofit to do these things, right? You just get a bunch of people together and go do it to some extent. But these are the things that if you want these things in your local atheist community, then you probably do need to step up and say, yeah, I will help set this up and get this rolling, because that's the only the way these things work in a community, right? Yep. And if you were to go look at churches, because not every Catholic church provides the same set of services to everybody. They, what services you have available depends on how big the church is and how many people are coughing up cash. Nonprofits work the same way, right? Clubs work the same way. You've got to have enough people to provide and do things. And as you grow, you can do more and more. That's one of the things the Atheist Community of Austin does, is as we have grown, we have done more and more. We eventually ended up with a building. We started doing these shows, and one day somebody said, hey, I'll put these on YouTube. And the next thing we know, well, here we are today. So these are things that if you want them in the community, you've got to go find them, or you've got to go help people doing it, or you've got to volunteer for it. It's the only way this stuff
Bill,
gets done.
It'd be nice if it existed already, and in a lot of ways it does. But if you want to see more, well, you're just going to have to get out of your seat and do it. And if you don't like volunteering and you want to get paid for it, then you got to convince people to pay you. And if you can't, then then I just don't know what to tell you. But thank you so much for calling. We're going to let you go, and I would encourage you to reach out to your community and find out where those people are at. And if you don't find them there, come here. And if you want to start initiating programs here at the ACA that are religion, sect specific, then, well, golly gee, come on down.